Every year, on the same night, a cabin on a lake in northern Minnesota fills back up, with people who were never invited. This is the account of the only person who ever left that cabin twice. She says the second time, something left with her. In October of 2015, a group of 5 college friends rented an old lake cabin in northern Minnesota for a weekend getaway before finals. The listing had one strange line buried in the description: guests are asked not to count how many people are present after dark. Nobody thought much of it. It was assumed to be a quirky rule left by an eccentric owner. Only one of them, a young woman named Megan Ford, made it home. This is what she told police, an account they logged, but never explained. Friday night. The cabin sat at the end of a gravel road, half a mile from the nearest neighbor, its dock stretching out over water so still it looked painted. Megan came with her boyfriend Chris, her roommate Priya, and 2 friends from their dorm, Jake and Nicole. The caretaker, an older man named Wallace, met them briefly to hand over the keys. Before leaving, he mentioned, almost as an afterthought, that the lake had a local nickname, the Counting Lake, because of an old story about a drowning that happened decades ago. He said it the way people repeat things they don't fully believe themselves, then drove off before anyone could ask more. That night, they built a fire on the dock and played cards. Around midnight, Nicole did a head count as a joke, pointing at each person in turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She laughed and said, "Good, nobody drowned yet." Jake, staring past the fire toward the tree line, said quietly, 6. Everyone turned. There was no one else there. They wrote it off as the fire playing tricks with shadows and went to bed. Saturday. In the morning, everything felt ordinary: coffee, sunlight on the water, nobody mentioning the night before. But Priya, scrolling through photos she'd taken by the fire, stopped on one and turned pale. 6 silhouettes were visible around the flames, evenly spaced, though only 5 people had been sitting there. Chris suggested it was a long exposure glitch. Someone must have shifted position while the shutter was open, doubling into a ghost image. It was a reasonable explanation, and everyone accepted it, because the alternative made the cabin feel very different to sleep in. That afternoon, Megan and Nicole took the canoe out. Halfway across the lake, Nicole stopped paddling and asked Megan if she'd heard someone counting. Megan hadn't. But when they got back to shore, Wallace was standing at the tree line, watching the cabin, not moving, until he saw them look at him. Then he turned and walked away without a word. That evening, the group did a head count again, this time nervously, half as a dare. Chris counted 5. Then, from somewhere near the water, a 6th voice, flat, unfamiliar, neither male nor female, finished the count before anyone could stop it. 6. No one slept in separate rooms that night. They pushed 2 mattresses together in the living room and left every light on. Sunday. By morning, Jake was gone. His shoes were still by the door. His phone was on the counter, screen cracked, showing a single unsent text to his mother: "I think there's an extra person in the photo. Someone else is counting too." The message had been typed at 3:14 a.m. They searched the property in pairs, refusing to separate. Near the tree line, Priya found something that made her stop walking entirely: a row of 6 sets of footprints leading from the dock into the woods, evenly spaced, though only 5 of them had gone anywhere near that path the day before, and Jake wasn't one of them. Megan wanted to call the police immediately. Chris argued they should wait for Wallace, certain there was some explanation he'd been avoiding giving them. When they went to find him, his small caretaker's house at the end of the road was locked, dark, and, according to the mailbox, hadn't received mail in over a year. That night, unable to leave because their car wouldn't start despite a full tank and no visible fault, they stayed in the cabin with the door barred. At exactly midnight, they heard the counting begin again from outside, slow, deliberate, working through numbers one at a time, drawing closer to the cabin with each number. 1. Silence. 2. Closer. By the time it reached 5, it was directly outside the door. Megan said the 6 of them, because by then it felt like 6, though only 4 remained, stood frozen, waiting for the final number. It never said 6. It simply stopped. And then, from inside the room, Nicole's voice said it for them, calm and completely wrong, as though something had borrowed her mouth to finish the sentence itself. Nicole was standing at the window the entire time, and had not spoken. Monday. Megan woke up alone in the cabin. Chris, Priya, and Nicole were gone, their belongings untouched, the cabin locked from the inside exactly as they'd left it the night before. The car, which hadn't started in 2 days, started on the first try. She drove straight to the police, gave her statement, and was later diagnosed with acute stress reaction, a label that explained nothing about the footprints, the photograph, or the fact that Wallace, the caretaker who rented them the cabin, had drowned in that same lake 11 years earlier and had no living relative who could explain why his name was still on the rental listing. The cabin was quietly delisted the following spring. Local records show it has never been rented since, though neighbors say lights still come on there every October, always for exactly 1 weekend, and that if you count the shapes moving past the windows, you will always count one more than you should. Megan never learned to swim after that. She says the lake never took anyone by drowning at all, it simply borrows them, one at a time, until the number is right again.